Hello. I've had Swiss Army knives now for several decades. This one of their bigger ones of the 91mm series called the Swiss Champ, has been one I've had for quite some time. But I've always thought it's a little bit big for everyday carry. So looking into it, I discovered they have other ones, such as this one's called the Craftsman. This one's called the Handyman. They're a little bit smaller, but they're functionally just as good for my needs because they're missing tools that I don't really ever use on the Champion. And this is also true with their little series, the series for the keychain. This one's called a Mini Champ. And it has this cuticle pusher. I hardly even knew what that meant. You push your cuticle with it, I guess. I've never used it in my life. Has a ruler here. I don't find rulers that are 1 inch and 3/8 of much use. So they have smaller ones. For instance, this one's called a Vagabond that saves a lot of space by eliminating the tools that I don't need. So that's why this one called the Vagabond is my favorite Swiss Army knife. In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. It's what I call POORMAN'S Alox with bling, and it's sort of a mirror polish design. It has everything that you have on this one except for the tweezers and the toothpick. Basically what I did is I took the scales off, the plastic scales. When you do that, you'll have something that looks sort of like this, but then you polish it and it ends up looking like this. But look how nice and skinny it is. So this is my new jewel for my keychain. Some of their very older series didn't have this rectangle in the middle. Here's one, for instance, that doesn't have that rectangular slot in the middle. So I'm learning more and more every time I open these up and polish new ones. And the mirror is so good that you can basically use it even as a mirror to check if you have food in your teeth or to signal somebody with the sun. So this is what they look like with the scales popped off before you clean them and polish them. And then this shows you what they can look like once you clean them up and shine them up. Very pretty. It's reflective, just like a mirror. Looks very good on the keychain, and it's nice and skinny. You are saving a few millimeters by not using these. In fact, it's about the thickness of the product itself if you take a look at it. So here are the two rivets right next to each other, the two scales right next to each other, and here's the width of the product. So the scales are a substantial part of the width. Not normally into bling, but if you're into mirror polished goods, this is a good candidate, and all you need to do is take the scale off and polish it. Pretty cool. So found on the Vagabond, my silvery Vagabond or a normal one, is this tool called a cut and picker tool, also with scraper. And officially it's for doing this, reaching into your pill bottle and pulling out the cotton. And I guess it does indeed do that, although I'm more likely to use it as an orange peeler, which a lot of people say is the more common use for it. Notice the cut and picker tool has a sharpening at the bottom of the point right there. That makes it very good for cutting open boxes. You can pierce with the point part and then drag it. So I tried the cut and picker tool on other functions, for instance, to see if it would work as a safety belt cutter. It doesn't. It's not nearly sharp enough. You're much better off just using the actual knife blade. I also tried it as a paracord cutter because of the sharpening at the bottom. If you had nothing else, I suppose it barely works. There's a lot of sawing action necessary, but you're better off just using the knife. But here's something I do like about it. It will work as a hand saw. Not a hand saw, a hand drill. I made this hole through this piece of wood. That might be useful, for instance, in a survival situation if you want to bore a hole into the bottom of a spear that you've made to put a tether on it, or a lanyard, or if you were making a knife and you wanted to make a hole. So through hard plastic or wood, you can actually bore a 1/4-inch hole. That's the perfect size for me because that's also useful for photography. 1/4 20 threads are found on tripods, and I found that if you make that hole into the wood, you then can connect a tripod. Works amazingly well, actually. You could build, for instance, a little holder for a monocular, so you could get some stability. So here it is as a orange peeler instead of a cut and picker tool. What makes it such a good orange peeler is it has a depth gauge, so you can't accidentally cut into the fruit. So here it is after the acid wash and the vinegar, including some scrubbing with this brass wire brush. It actually looks pretty cool right now, if you ask me. Without any polishing. I'm very impressed. Olive oil. So I filled the orange bowl with olive oil. We're now going to try and use it as a candle, liquid lantern. Ta-da! So this will now burn the olive oil and work as your emergency survival kit lantern. Gives a nice sort of orange glow up the side. I don't know if you can see that. This model is called the Escort. It's the skinniest one I have, the skinniest one they make. It's only 1 layer thick, and it's a thin layer too. But I'm going to make it even thinner by removing these outer scales. Seems to be pretty good shape. You can get these for about 10 bucks online, much less if you buy them used. So to soften up the plastic, so I don't hurt the rivet holes when I pop off the scales in case I want to reuse the scales, we're going to warm it up in hot water. In fact, it's nearly boiling water. This water was boiling in my microwave just moments ago. Grab it with these chopsticks, give it a slight drying using my Micra. Probably should have pulled the toothpick and the tweezers out before I'd started this. So we go on the top and then pivot in to the side and then pop the rivet. Ooh, nice and easy. That's good. The plastic is nice and soft. That means these holes are going to be well preserved, so if you want to reuse this scale at a later date. This is the trickiest part, right at the rivets. What I do is I take a Q-tip and I swirl around them, pushing inward towards the rivet. It's difficult to photograph these because the mirror reflection makes my camera want to focus on the reflection as opposed to the knife surface. But here's all the metal ones. This is current series Alox, old school Alox. Most, when you remove the outer cellidor plastic scales, will look like this, but I think very old ones will look like this. Which makes it much more like a true mirror, such as my signaling mirror I made in a recent video. So let's battle this one versus this one using sunlight to see how good it would work as a signaling mirror. So I'm going to compare my polished mirror Victorinox against a real mirror, which is the handheld mirror I made in the previous video. And let's see how they do against that target. First, here's the Victorinox. And now, if I can do this at the same time, let's see. There's the Victorinox, and here is the real mirror. So there's the real mirror, and here's the polished mirror Victorinox. This mirror polish one lets you see the reflection of the camera quite nicely. Anyway, here's the full lineup. Compact POORMAN'S Alox, True Alox, POORMAN'S Alox Walker, 1/10 the price of this one, but functionally equivalent. Signaling mirror, two-tone, I made a video on this recently. Here's an early model classic. Current series will have the slit in the middle and not the flat body. Unfortunately, these are going to be hard to find. Old school Alox, and then here's the red cellidor plastic traditional one. However, this is the model I made with the pin on top and other accessories in my recent video. So this little escort that's been descaled and shined up is super skinny. It's the skinniest knife I've ever owned by far. According to my calipers, 2.39 millimeters thick in the main body area. Pretty cool. Here's the classic, and it measures 3.03 millimeters. While I'm at it, here's a Mini Champ, 7.87 millimeters. And here is a Vagabond, 6.37 millimeters. So you can save a lot of bulk by not using these scales. In fact, if you measure two scales put next to each other, the savings in width is 5 millimeters, 5.09 millimeters. Here's an interesting juxtaposition. Here's my thickest Swiss Army knife, a Swiss Champ, next to my skinniest one. This is a model called the Escort, which I've removed the scales of. Look at the difference in thickness. Pretty severe. This model has no scissors. So here's the recently polished Mini Champ. I'm starting to rethink this cuticle pusher. Maybe it is worth keeping. It works. So if you need a screwdriver, that will work.